The chances are that Trump's latest indictment is political theater. The device is relatively new in the media's bag of tricks. It was a late addition to the propaganda campaign of the 1980s. Over the years, it's been used for everything and the kitchen sink. It sells elite policy, especially globalism, and it divides and confuses the public. Most importantly, it distracts attention from real issues. That's done with information gaps and logical inconsistencies. And these are never challenged in the media or the university. This is the process in which news items are turned into soap opera. And without a valid narrative to go by, the public can't tell which way is up. There are many examples. From day one of the Clinton impeachment, it was clear that there would be no conviction. This was the slimiest performance of our generation, and the slobberfest lasted for months. Jeers and slanders played nightly across the news media with no counter-argument allowed. It was an obvious fishing expedition. The charges of perjury, abuse of power, and obstruction of justice were based on a sexual harassment lawsuit that was thrown out of court. So Clinton should not have been compelled to answer personal questions in the first place. The public watched with morbid fascination, but for those who were taught that the presidency is an office of dignity and respect, no matter who's in office, the play was an obscenity. Its purpose was to obstruct the president's agenda, and it was shocking to see how far corporate media would go to block an electoral mandate. Trump's first impeachment was nonsense on its face. The charge of abuse of power was supported with dim speculation. There also was no chance of a conviction. The objective, rather, was to cancel the election. This was precursor to the Trump insurgency. The 2020 protests were provoked with an anecdotal video played nonstop on cable news while contradictory info was suppressed. This is standard procedure in corporate media. Luckily, the far left don't bother with facts or logic. And right on schedule, Antifa and BLM were looting and rioting. The purpose was to delegitimize liberals, alienate two-thirds of the electorate, and disrupt what could have been a Democratic landslide. In Trump's second impeachment, again, there was no chance of a conviction. It jacked up liberal self-righteousness, so real issues like the debt, filibuster, and a fiscally responsible stimulus would go unaddressed. The case against Hunter Biden is ongoing. After years of petty details and speculation, a special prosecutor has now been appointed. Conservatives are supposed to be excited by this, but they shouldn't expect movement on the case anytime soon. The war in Iraq was sold with bald-faced lies, again with no counter-narrative allowed. Of course the public swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. Years later, when the fraud was uncovered, commentators speculated freely about the objective. As always, they ignored the obvious. This was another in a long list of demonstration wars, which are PR campaigns for the weapons industry. The Ukraine war is being sold with an appeal to self-righteousness. Because that's a liberal favorite, they're behind it 100%. And don't let's worry about ulterior motives, no matter how obvious they might be. For people with eyes, those are the skyrocketing oil and weapons industry profits. All of these dramas have one thing in common. They serve the interests of financial conglomerates, and because of this hidden agenda, they need to be discussed and debated from outside of the corporate echo chamber. That's where social media would come in. The net had such promise as a tool for debate. Unfortunately, it's been filled with corporate agents reciting every crackpot narrative this side of the Cato Institute. Independent sites are just as useless. They're busy with crucial matters like UFOs, vaccine speculation, celebrity gossip, and the integrity of women's sports. Wokeism in Hollywood is especially popular because we can't let formulaic writing ruin our entertainment experience. Even civics pages dwell on stuff and nonsense. Yet content creators could stop pandering to the masses and cover serious issues. Among the slate of corporate dramas, two are actually important. Those are the war in Ukraine and the Trump indictment. As mentioned, the war's purpose is to jack up oil and weapons industry profits. It's made possible not only by the appeasement of a petrostate dictatorship, but also by the theatrical production playing nightly on TV news. Trump's attempted coup d'etat is a threat to our democracy. Though the Dominion lawsuits may disrupt the operation, the media could easily start it up again. The policy fixes for both issues are obvious. A strategic response to the war is to finance clean energy in Western Europe. That would cut into oil profits Russia uses to finance the invasion. Another is to bring back key industries to the U.S. economy. That would weaken another expansionist dictatorship, namely the CCP. Another is to strengthen trade relations between the Western democracies. Trump's case needs to be prosecuted to the full extent as a warning to insurrectionists. Of course, it won't be. It was weakened before it even began by dramas like the collusion trial. The court date for the federal indictment has been set to March 4, 1924. That's plenty of time to confuse the issue with contradictory details. And the Fulton County DA is choosing to indict 18 people rather than to focus on Trump. It'll be a massive production, which we can expect to drag on for months, without a resolution, but with tempers raging on all sides. This is just the type of mass hysteria that corporate interests love. It distracts and confuses the public and makes sure that real problems are never addressed. None of these policy fixes will happen without civic action. That'll have to come from the 0.1% of people with a degree of social responsibility. Mainstream media's coverage should be ridiculed off the stage, and we can pressure news sites to hold the fluff and discuss real issues. It would be so nice to see the net live up to its potential and to confront the media with rational discourse. Most importantly, we should reach out to conservatives. They need to understand that Trump is another bait and switch operation. He only pretended to care about working people, then swapped in supply-side policy faster than a bunny rabbit on the freeway. Before that happens, there are a few liberal failures to discuss. They include our stupidity in supporting globalism, allowing Democratic politicians to abandon our values, and letting Hollywood and the university change the subject from class war to identity politics. Of course, none of this will happen. No one is going to confront the corruption in society or even recognize the theatrics in TV news. The masses will continue thrashing around with anger, frustration, and self-satisfaction. Welcome to the world of political theater, produced by your friends in corporate media and lovingly crafted to keep the public in a state of witless emotion.